So here we are at Man United in Peterhead, Scotland. Sandy,
How you doing?
nice to meet you eventually.
Eventually, we got here.
How's life?
All good, yeah. Really busy, but good.
I'm very interested in what you do.
Yeah.
Yes, I've checked you out online, and I've seen that you've started for some time Man United, which is a mental health charity. So are you the one who started Man United in Peterhead?
Yes, so I'm the founder of Man United, yes.
How did you come about? Would you tell me a little bit of your journey? How did you get here?
So Man United started in August 2019. And
Okay.
around about that sort of time, there was 3 young males in Peterhead who committed suicide.
Okay.
One of them was quite high profile, and at the time when he committed suicide, it brought back a lot of memories for me from my struggles, my journey that I've been on. It took me back to a spell where I actually attempted to commit suicide 13 years ago.
You?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it took me back to that time as why is these guys not speaking to someone? I started doing some research, started looking, had a very deep conversation with God, and
Okay.
came to the realization that it was time to unite the men of Peterhead. So we launched Men United. God told me to unite the men of Peterhead. So we launched a Facebook page called Men
Just a
United.
second. You've said so much in such a short period of time. Okay, God told you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting conversation in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, how did God tell you?
So my journey is my journey is quite a wild one. I had a past.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a favor for my friends in Romania.
Yeah.
That they will probably, and not only in Romania, outside of Peterhead,
Yeah.
Scotland area. Would you speak a little bit slower?
I'll try.
And not okay. I'm sure they would like to understand you. Okay, so
I'll try.
yeah.
Yeah, so I have quite a past. I was
Okay.
involved in a lot of things I shouldn't have been involved in. I was involved in pubs, clubs, nightclubs, and some other things that I shouldn't have been involved in. I started drinking at a very young age.
Okay.
I saw things when I was 15, 16 that led me in a spiral downwards. I started drinking heavily. I relied on alcohol.
Why?
So I was 15 years old when I first sampled alcohol, and just shortly after it, probably even before that, my journey with mental health started when I was a child. I grew up in quite an abusive family household. My dad was an alcoholic when I was a child, and it wasn't a great family relationship we had. It wasn't a great environment to live in, and I didn't like childhood. I was bullied in school because I was the poor kid from the poor farming background. All the other kids at school were oil and gas. So there was lots of money.
So explain that for the people who don't know. So we are in northeast of Scotland.
Yeah. So
you are coming from a farming background,
yeah.
and a lot of oil and gas is here. And whoever works in oil and gas is somewhat richer.
Yeah. So my dad worked on a farm. So we didn't own the farm. We worked on a farm. So my dad
because a rented farm or
there was a family that owned the farm. My dad was an employee.
Okay.
So we lived in a house that was provided by the farm.
Okay.
But because they provide the house, it's a lower income.
Okay.
Lower wage because your rent is included.
Yes.
But when I went to a very small school. There was only 7 other pupils in my class. We're just outside Aberdeen, the capital of oil and gas in Europe. So their parents were making a lot of money. My parents didn't have money.
Okay.
We didn't really have a lot. So I was the poor child in my classroom. So from the first day I started school, I got bullied because I was the poor kid.
Okay.
I went through primary school, then moved to secondary school, went to a totally different secondary school from all these other children, but found out then I was the only child ever to come from my primary school, so I got bullied again.
Okay.
And in secondary school, I got bullied. And then I left that school, moved to another secondary school, which was a lot further north, up near Inverness. I got there and thought, this is brilliant. There's no oil and gas where I was moving. There was no rich kids. I would go there and I would be settled in this school. To arrive at the school to find out that right next to our school was the Royal Air Force Base. And all the children's families were all Royal Air Force. And I was the outside kid again. And the bullying started again. So when I was 14 and a half, I had enough. I left school. I promised I would never go back. I never
Can
did
I
go
ask
back.
you, just to interrupt you for a few minutes, because I'm interested in the bullying
Yes.
aspect of your
Yeah.
childhood. How would this happen? What were they doing to bully you?
So I had all kinds of things. Things were said about me because, as I said, we were from a poor background. We didn't have the fancy designer gear.
Okay.
We didn't have the names on our clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't afford the things that other kids had. So, I mean, they had the fancy trainers, the fancy jackets. I didn't have that.
So people, the kids were wicked, were mean to you
Yeah, they were very mean,
because
yeah.
you were not like them.
Because I wasn't the same.
Okay.
And it became, at times it became violent. It became,
Mhm.
you would get beaten up and stuff because you didn't fit in with their groups.
Mhm.
I also had a teacher, the first day I arrived in the school at Forres,
Mhm.
I walked into the classroom late
Mm.
and the teacher made a comment and I didn't understand what the teacher had said. So the teacher instantly took this dislike to me. And the whole time through the school, he made my life just absolute hell. I was always the one he was having a go at. I was always the one he was punishing for whatever reason.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
so at 14 and a half, I had enough.
Mhm.
I was at breaking point. It was like, I'm not going back. And I went and found a job on a farm and I started working on a farm when I was 14 and a half.
Wow.
Um,
Now again, probably at 14 and a half, you didn't look 14 and a half because you're quite tall.
yeah,
What were you? 6 foot what?
I'm 6'6" now.
6'6".
Yes, I'm
And
6'6".
well built.
I'm
strong.
strong now.
Yeah.
I wasn't then.
Okay.
I wasn't then. I was a very skinny, tall, skinny, lanky child, they would call me. Lanky.
Lanky.
Like a post.
Okay, like a lamppost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I started to socialise with an older group of people.
Mhm.
The young farmers, which is a group of farming guys who grew up in farming, they get together as a group and socialise as a group of farmers. I got involved with them, and I was 15 when I first tasted vodka.
Wow.
Vodka became my best friend and my new best friend.
So out of all the drinks, instead of choosing a Scottish drink, you chose a Russian drink.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone drank vodka, so
Okay.
it was a natural drink to take.
Wow.
Like vodka. So I started to socialise with these guys
Mhm.
and fitted in with them. They were all older. They were all guys who were 18, 19, 20s. And I fitted in with them. And then one night, everything would change because we were going to go to an event in Elgin.
Mhm.
And one of the guys who I was going in his car says, "Come on, let's go." And I had a call of nature. I needed to go to the toilet.
Mhm.
So I was like, "No, I have to go to the toilet." And he's like, "No, go now." And I was like, "No, I need to go to the toilet." I says, "I'll be 5 minutes." He'd arranged to meet a girl. And he says, "I'm going to be late." So he took one of my other friends instead. I went to the toilet, came back, got in the car of my other friend who was waiting. And as we drove along the road, we came across this car that had collided with a tree. And the car was on fire. And then I realised, well, we quickly realised that this was our friend's car.
Wow.
And 5 of my friends were inside this car, and we stood and we watched and we listened and couldn't do anything to help them as they burned to death in the car.
Could you hear their cries? And
yeah, you could hear them. You could when we first got there, we heard them screaming, but there was nothing we could do. The car was fully in flames, and it was a night that changed my life forever because I was 15
wow.
and I stood and watched 5 people die in front of
Wow.
me. So I went home that night after dealing with police and all the things, and the first thing I did was I opened a bottle of vodka and I drank the bottle
Mhm.
just to get to sleep. And then every day after that, I drank a bottle of vodka to get to sleep. And that went on for about 2 or 3 years, where I lived drinking vodka to survive. Going to my work in the morning,
Mhm.
I had to
Mhm.
drink before I went to work.
Mhm.
I came home, I would drink to get to sleep. I would get up in the morning, I would drink to go to work. And I did my job. I drove these massive machines, massive tractors, combine harvesters, you name it, I drove them. And most of the time I was drunk. Nobody knew. Nobody had a clue. Even my own parents didn't have a clue how much I was drinking. But it's how I survived.
Wow. So all these things, well, affected you. So I guess they were burned on your brain,
Yeah.
in your on
It's all I knew.
in your memory. So you, wow. Mhm.
Yeah. And then I got involved with pubs and clubs. I was 17 when I got my first job working in a nightclub as the security, the bouncer.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I went to a nightclub in Elgin and there was a fight. and I got involved in the fight.
Mhm.
And the security threw me outside,
Mhm.
and then one of them took a hold of me and dragged me back inside and told me to fight to help them.
Mhm.
So I ended up fighting with these guys. As you can see, I'm a big strong guy at this point.
Yeah.
So I ended up fighting with these guys and ended up working in this nightclub, and this is where my life revolved into this whole thing with pubs and clubs and getting involved with fighting, and then I got paid to fight.
Kidding.
Yeah, well, that's what security does. Security in a nightclub, you're fighting these guys when you throw them out. So these became really handy. So I started getting paid, and I was allowed to fight with people, and it just became. I went on a power trip because I had this new power.
Okay.
Because these people who used to bully me and hurt me, I
Mhm.
could now do it to them,
Mhm.
and I knew I had people to back me up. So I started ticking off the people who had hurt me, which spiraled out of control for me. For years, it was totally out of control. Left Elgin, moved down to Peterhead, where I am now, and instantly got involved with pubs and clubs. Started managing a pub, then managing a nightclub, then having my own security company. So I had 40 people working for me.
40.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So most of what happened within Peterhead, within a pub or a nightclub, my security were the ones who were involved. So I had a lot of power.
So you were pretty well known in Peterhead.
Very well known, very infamous.
Wow.
Wow. It's not a good thing now, but it's very infamous. So a lot of people knew who I was.
Wow.
But very few people knew what I really did, because I had things I did in the background as well that people didn't know about.
So you just moved to Peterhead, yeah?
Yeah. So I moved to Peterhead, got involved with pubs, clubs, nightclubs. So I've run a security company, had 40 guys working for me, and had a lot of power. A lot of things that happened in this town, I had control over, power over.
How did that make you feel?
Invincible. I felt
How
invincible.
old were you then?
When I took control of the nightclub, I was 25.
That's very appealing to a 25-year-old young man to have that kind of power. Huh?
So I ran the largest nightclub in the northeast of Scotland. We could get 800 people on a Saturday night.
What was that?
Deja Vu in Peterhead.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I know about Deja Vu. I've never been there. But...
It's closed now.
Oh, yeah.
It's closed after I left. Yeah. But I had a lot of power. I became we have a thing here in Scotland called Pub Watch, where all the pubs and nightclubs and stuff sign up. And if someone causes trouble in one, we can have a committee where we can ban them from everywhere.
Okay.
I became the chairman, so I was in charge.
So you like leading things?
I like to be in control. Yes, I like to be in control.
A little bit obsessive compulsive.
I like to be the boss.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to be the boss. So I got involved with that, and as I say, I was running all these different things. So I had a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. I could control a lot of things to my advantage, to my benefit, which then got me to this thing that I had power in my life. I was invincible. No one could touch me. I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and no one could stop me.
Wow.
Yeah. So it became a horrible place.
Did it make you feel special? Did it make you feel above others, above everybody else?
At first, yes. I thought I was better than everyone else. I was better than everyone else. I was the boss. People, if you came to my club and I didn't like the way you looked, you're not coming in. I had that power.
I'm glad I'm your friend.
So I had that power. I could control who was in my club. I could control if somebody didn't like, I could stop them enjoying their night out. And and I could do it in any pub because I had this power with Pub Watch that I could do this. It became a thing that I abused this power to my advantage. And then I got involved with the darker side of life as well, because I then got involved with my bosses who owned the nightclub. They had connections who told me that I could make a lot of money by using these. And then I started to get paid to beat people up for money.
As in a cage fight, or you were out for hire as in what would you call them?
The Punisher.
The Punisher.
The Punisher.
The Punisher?
Yes.
Oh man, that's dangerous.
Yes. So I would get paid to go and knock on a door and just hurt the people.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. Not proud of it. I'm not proud of what I did. But for me, it was
Oh, man.
it was a
like-
survival.
This is like Italian mafia, for goodness sake. In Sicily,
Very nearly.
nearly. Well, but that's
Very nearly.
the
There
Scottish chapter.
was connections.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well. Oh
So,
well.
yeah. So yeah, I did a lot of things I'm not proud of. But for me at that point, it was all about money. It was the greed.
Survival or greed?
Greed.
Greed.
Greed. Yeah, I wanted it. If you had something I wanted, I would take it.
What was about it was not just money, it was prestige. So because this is important, a man wants respect,
Yeah.
prestige, influence, money, which is
Yeah.
and then power.
So for me, a lot of it was my whole life. I grew up with nothing. I now had a way of making very quick money. I could make money.
Quick money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fear.
Mhm.
I loved the look of fear on people's faces.
But the fear of you.
By the fear of me.
Yeah.
Because I had spent so much of my life in fear of others that I now knew what it was to have that power to be able to make someone look scared.
So it's true when they say then that the abused become an abuser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. So everything that I did, I could justify it to myself because people hurt me. So I was payback time. And it was a horrible place. I got into a very horrible place, a very dark place in life. And I made a lot of money doing it. But I have a lot of things I regret because of it. And times where I've looked back and thought, wow, my life could have been so different. Now some of the guys I help, I go into the local jail, prison, and help guys in there. And I tell these guys in the jail the only difference between them and me is they got caught and I didn't. And I don't know why I didn't get caught, because I became so reckless to the state that there was times that I actually thought I'd gone too far.
I've heard it said that nobody gets away with anything.
Yep.
Do you feel, or are you revisited by the memories of the
There
past?
has been time, yes. Yeah, there is time. There has been times. There's things that will happen and things that have happened in my life where I'm like, there's that karma at times.
Mhm.
But I say I managed to turn life around. But not before I got to breaking point, and I was at rock bottom.
What was your breaking point?
So breaking point for really was when I lost everything.
What do you mean by everything?
So I had
Everything?
I had a life where I had the power, I had the family, I had my children in my house, nice cars, nice holidays, everything. And then it all just fell apart. I lost my wife and kids. They left. Well, and we broke up, and it was like I ended up in a little.
It was your house and stuff like that.
Well, we had a shared house, so I ended up in a small dingy flat on my own, with absolutely nothing, and everything I owned was in a holdall bag. And I realised I didn't own anything. Everything I had was material things. I didn't actually have anything.
So you lost everything.
Yeah. I was done. I was broken. I mean, I was standing in the nightclub, being the tough guy in the front door of the nightclub, and walking into my office, locking the door, and sitting crying. But I wouldn't cry in front of people. I wouldn't cry in front of you.
Okay.
Because when I was a child, my grandfather, was my hero. He was a very tough man, a very strong man, and a fighter. He was a fighter. He was a boxer in the Navy. He'd been in the Royal Navy when he was during the war. And he was a very successful boxer. He'd won competitions all over the world boxing. And one of the things he told me, and it's the worst piece of advice I was ever given, is that real men don't cry. So as a child, I was told that if you cried, you weren't a man.
Okay.
I never cried. I could stand and take a beating. You wouldn't make me cry. I'd go home and cry, but I wouldn't do it in front of you.
Very stoic.
Yeah. Pride.
Yeah.
Pride. And
is that good? Is that bad?
Bad.
It's bad?
Bad. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the worst piece. It's the only thing that my grandfather ever told me that I wish he hadn't said, is that real men don't cry. Because now I love a cry. I will cry. I cry watching movies now. It's just how I am. So
you went over the pendulum. Went over to the other extreme, huh?
Once I found a way out, but I was in this flat. Everything was just horrible. Hated it. Hated everything about it. And then one day I had enough. I got in my car and I went for a drive and I was heading towards Aberdeen. and something in my head just snapped,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided that was it. I was done. This was the end. And I saw the lorry coming over the hill, coming towards me. I picked the lorry, and I drove towards it. And I was doing about 90 miles an hour, heading for this lorry. And the lorry driver knew what was happening because I was on his side of the road. He starts flashing lights at me, weaving about, and I just followed him. And I was probably 150 yards from death,
Mm-hmm.
and my phone rang. And it was my son's primary school to say that he'd been sick. And I looked at it and saw it was a school. And it was like, it's my kid. And I answered the phone, came back my own side, stopped the car, went to pick up my son, gave him the biggest hug he'd ever had in his life. Because
Wow.
that was the moment I realised that phone call saved my life. And then I realised that I needed to change. Something had to change. And boy, did it change.
It's because, well, the biggest cause for man's stress is no, for men's anxieties and it's stress.
Yeah. Stress is a massive thing.
Yeah, but stress. What do you think? Were you stressed about? What was the causes? You know, because anxiety is defined as a very exacerbated feeling of fear and worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my biggest stress for me at that point was the fact that I had gone from being invincible to feeling like I was absolutely crushed.
So you are somebody,
and it happened
and you became a nobody.
Happened within days.
Nothing lasts forever.
No, and they say how the mighty fall. I fell. I fell really, really hard, and I landed really, really hard as well. And then that was when I lay there and thought, I need to do something different. I need to change. I need to change my life.
So what did you do?
So just around about this sort of time, I had been helping a friend who was a Christian male. He was trying to become a counsellor, and through him, I had met a woman who had helped him, a friend, a woman called Janice, who became my friend, and I went to see her. And it was like, this wasn't right, and life was just mess. And Janice invited me to church, and I went along to church. Hated it. Absolutely hated it.
Church is not for men.
No.
For real men.
Wasn't for men like me.
Exactly.
And I walked into the church, and in my head, everyone was speaking about me. Everyone was judging me.
Okay.
Because everybody knew who I was.
Okay.
Everybody knew what I was.
Okay.
And here was me in church. And I swore I would never go back. I wasn't going back. And then things kept happening, and I kept going back. I kept getting invited back to things. Janice's children would be doing something. I'll come and see the kids, or come and do this. And the whole time it's like, I don't get this. I don't understand it. I don't understand any of this. And then I was having a really, really bad day one day, and it was a case of, right, okay, God, if you're real, make Janice my wife. And that was what I said.
That was very straightforward, though.
In my house. God, if you're real, prove it. Make Janice my wife. And nothing happened. So I was like, told you. Nothing. God's not real. And then a few days later, we were...
Well, what were you afraid to go and ask her out, or what was...
Well, we didn't even go on a date. We hadn't been... We were friends. That was it.
Okay, but were you afraid to ask her? Why? What was the?
Because at that point, I thought I was nobody, and Janice was way out of my league. She was way above me. Okay. So I never thought nothing about it. And then we were there in the house, and Janice was wrapping Christmas presents. It was just coming up to Christmas, and she went, "Oh, I've got you nothing for Christmas." I was like, "I don't want a present for Christmas." And then she says to me, "If you could have anything, what would it be?" And I said, "You'd be my wife."
Wow.
And she went, "Okay." And I'm like, "Wow." But instantly I didn't think, "Oh, well done, God, you've proven yourself."
Did you try your luck? It was maybe half joke.
Well, it was meant as...
But then you mean it.
No, I don't even think it was meant as a joke.
No,
It was the first thing in my head. It just instantly came out. And It
That's
came out.
good,
like,
man. That's good.
well,
That's
when
really
it came
good.
out, I was like,
Were
"Oh,
you scared to say it?
terrified. When it came out, I was like, oh no way. But she said yes. And it was like,
Amazing.
wow. But I didn't think it was God. That was me. I was like, oh, fuck.
Still, yeah,
Sandy, you still got
you're doing it.
You're back.
You're happening.
I'm back in the game.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we did. We got engaged, and then we got married 11 weeks later.
Amazing.
Which, same thing. God put everything in place, and it happened. But I still wasn't a Christian.
Okay.
I still had. It was like people speak about having a foot either side of the river.
Okay.
I didn't even have that. My feet were both still on the same side. I was doing what I did. I went along. If I was asked, I went along to church with Janice to keep her happy. But I had no interest in it.
As a lot of men do.
Yeah.
Go along.
Keep the peace.
Keep the peace, yeah.
But I had no interest. Church wasn't for me. And then several things happened. So before I'd asked Janice to marry me and stuff, I'd gone on a lad's holiday. I went to Ibiza. And I think now,
That's the place to go.
now looking back, this is probably where my life really did start to change. Because I went to Ibiza, me and my friend went to Ibiza for a lad's holiday, and we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the party. We enjoyed the time. And on the last night there, my pal who was with me got drunk and went home. So I went out myself and enjoyed my night out, and then found myself sitting on the beach. And I was thinking about going home because everything was just a mess. And it was like, I don't want to go home. And I don't want to go back to the mess. I was loving life, partying. And as I sat on the beach, it was like, I went like that. And I looked up and there was this man stood right in front of me. And the man looked filthy. He was dirty. His clothes looked like rags. He had long hair, bushy beard, just dirty, like a beggar. And I said, I have no money. And he was, I don't want money. So what do you want? And he says, I'm a street preacher. I was like, I've been to church. I'm not interested. I don't want to know. And he's like, I've got a message for you. Weird. Okay.
In Ibiza?
This is in Ibiza, yeah.
Kidding, man.
He says, I've got a message for you. I was like, well, you don't even know who I am. So what is it? He says, when he asks you to wear his coat, put it on. I said, what?
Okay.
He says, when he asks you to wear his coat, put it on.
Wow.
And I'm like, and there was no one there. He was gone. So I'm instantly, first thought was, my drink's been spiked. I've lost my mind. I've lost it. Didn't think nothing of it. I came home from Ibiza the next day, and that was the day that I left the nightclub. I handed in the keys and left. I left my job, left everything, and walked away from it all. And that was the first time my life changed, because I now was out of work. Never been out of work in my life. I was now unemployed. And I went to tell Janice about it, and Janice told me that God would provide. And I laughed. How can God provide? I don't even believe in God. God doesn't exist. Because at this point, God didn't exist. And then that following Sunday, I went along to church in Apex, and Neil was standing speaking, and he introduced himself. He stood at the front, and then he said, in 2 weeks' time, we've got our church picnic, and I'd like to thank Sandy Garvock for offering to wear the sweetie coat. I didn't even know what a sweetie coat was. I've never been to
I have no idea what it is either.
So it's a coat that someone will put on. It's got lots of sweets tied to it.
Okay.
You run outside and the children chase you to get the sweets.
Oh, okay.
But in my head, all I could hear was, if he asks you to wear his coat, put it on. So I went and spoke to Neil afterwards and said, why did you ask me? And he says, God told me this morning that he told you. And I'm like, nah. Coincidence.
Unbelievable, man. That's amazing,
man. So this thing started happening, but I just totally brushed them aside. Had nothing to do with it. Didn't want nothing to do with it until I'd been married now for 6 months. And I was working with Janice one day, and I said, I've got a sore leg. It's really sore. And she went, take some pills, you'll be fine. And as the day went on, it got sorer and sorer and sorer until I couldn't touch the top of my leg. And I went to the bathroom and checked, and I had a lump at the top of my thigh. And it was quite a big lump. So I went and told Janice I had a lump in my leg. And then it got bigger and bigger. and bigger. And by night time, I couldn't even stand on my leg, couldn't even touch it. So I ended up being taken to hospital, into intensive care. I had drips and everything. And they came and told me that I had an infection in my body that had been caught by this gland. No idea how this infection got there. So they would drain the infection, do all these different tests, and then the nurse came in and told me that I was diabetic and that I would have to inject insulin every day.
So you do that now, yeah?
No.
Oh man. Okay, here we
No,
go. Okay, yeah.
So my whole world fell apart because I now had this thing where I was going to have to inject myself every day.
Okay.
I don't like needles. I don't like them. So they told me that I could come home on the Friday. I would be home for the weekend. I had to go back to hospital on the Monday, and all this insulin and everything would start on the Monday. So I came home on the Friday. My world had fallen apart because here I was broken again, thinking I'm going to have to spend the rest of my life depending on a drug to keep me alive, watching what I eat, watching what I do. Everything was going to be monitored. It's not how I envisioned my life. So Janice told me that I had to come to church. And I'm like, no, not going to church. She went, you have to come to church on Sunday. She says, everyone's been praying for you all week. You need to go and be there. And I was like, God's not real because God's left me in this mess. Well, anybody who's married, you're married, you know that when your wife tells you you're going to church on Sunday, you go to church on Sunday.
You go to church on Sunday, man.
I went to church on Sunday. I was there. Good little husband sat there in the most foul mood I've ever been probably for years because I didn't want to be there.
Awkward.
Aye. Angry. Just, I don't want to be here. And look at the mess I'm in. And having this battle in my head is, why am I in here? Because if God's real, I wouldn't be in this mess. And Neil got up and started to preach. And he preached about Jacob and heroes and all these different things. And then he spoke about how Jesus was a hero and how the fact that Jesus wipes your slate clean. And when he wipes your slate clean, everything disappears. All your past is removed. You can be healed, all this sort of stuff. And I'm sitting there going, I feel sick. And I actually physically felt sick. So I said to John, I'm going to the toilet. And I couldn't move off the seat. I couldn't actually physically get off the seat. And as he kept speaking, the more I felt sick. And then I started to sweat. And I became really, really hot. And my hands were absolutely dripping. And I could feel it running down my face. And I was just burning up inside. And then he said, if you want to give your life to God and let Jesus wipe your slate clean, raise your hand. I've got my hand up. The first thing I noticed...
Do you want to raise it or it just went up?
It just went up.
Okay.
I didn't even have an option. My hand was up. Neil says he's never seen anybody put their hand up before he hadn't finished the appeal. My hand was up. First thing I noticed, the water started leaking because I had tears running down my face. And then I felt this burning sensation slowly travel up through my body and leave through the tip of my fingers as it was raised.
Okay.
And I cried my heart out. I absolutely broke. And I couldn't stop crying. And it's the first time in my life since I was probably about 5, 6 years old that I had cried in front of anyone. And here I was in church, absolutely sobbing my heart out. And I went forward and I was prayed for and I was told I was saved. And what does that mean? I never clue what it meant. But I came home, sat in the house, and instantly thought something was wrong because there was no noise. It was dead silent. So if we sit, it's like this. I asked Janice what was wrong. She went, what do you mean? She says, well, there's no buzzing noise. There's a buzzing noise. Because my whole life I'd had this buzzing noise inside my head. It was gone. She told me it was a piece of God. I quite like this. I quite like the piece of God then.
Okay. Wow, man.
And I thought that was it. The next day I went back to hospital and they did all these different tests and all these different things. There was nothing wrong with me. There was no diabetes. But they can't explain why I was diabetic the week before, but not this week. They ran all these different sugar tests and everything. Everything was perfectly fine. So I told the doctor that God had healed me. The doctor laughed in my face. Told me that God's not real.
Okay.
So that started another journey. And I think that's when I started to realise that I've got a story to tell. Because I started to share my story of how God had healed me, how God had brought me from the mess I was in to the life I was in now.
Fascinating, man. Fascinating.
I ended up actually 3 years later, that doctor came to faith as well.
Are you kidding?
Because he saw through the power of my story and being invited along to church service that God could heal him because he got healed as well. And that's when my journey as an evangelist started. And everything changed. I went from being the guy that everybody was scared of in Peterhead to being this guy where it was like, he's lost the plot. He's going to church. His mind's gone. And people treated me differently. Because people then, I didn't have the power. But yet, I was proud of who I was.
So now you are a Christian.
Yeah.
You're married.
Yep.
For how long have you been married?
10 years now I've been married.
Oh, man. So for 10 years married, doing good.
Yeah.
So you are somebody by the standards of this world, so to speak, by the standards of the world around us, by the standards of society. You are somebody.
Yep.
You became a nobody, a broken man.
Yep.
Am I right to say that you've become a somebody again, but in a different way?
Yes. Now I'm someone who I'm proud of. I'm proud of who I am now, compared to what I was before.
But you became somebody in which way different?
Because now I want to help people rather than hurt people. My whole life now is dependent on helping people.
Okay.
So very quickly in my journey as a Christian, I realized that I had a story to tell.
So would you say that God made a difference in your life?
Oh, yeah. Everything changed. The minute I raised my hand, everything in my life changed. So my anger has gone. I have no anger whatsoever. I can't get angry. I have asked people to make me angry.
You see,
there's no anger.
I've been a Christian for many years.
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. And I have to say, you see, now I do believe I have a problem with what? With I was angry and I'm not angry anymore, because I do believe in healing. I do believe God can do anything.
Yeah.
So God can take away anything if he wants to, right? But I can get angry.
Yeah.
And I have to exercise self-control. I have to apply all kinds of, what's the word I'm looking for? All kinds of mechanisms.
Yeah.
I pray.
Yeah.
God never took away my anger, and that I've never been angry ever again.
Yeah.
So I have to pray every day, and I say, God, I trust you, and help me control myself. And but I've never experienced this taken away of anything that I am aware of. For good.
Yeah. So mine's dead. So I will get annoyed.
Okay.
But never to the stage that I get angry. I've never once.
You mean, okay,
things happen in life.
Let's break this down a little bit. Anger in which way? To manifest anger in a destructive way?
And I don't,
because that's what you mean, getting angry, really.
My thing, when I got angry, I would have this feeling in my stomach that I would be like,
okay,
I don't have it anymore.
Oh,
it doesn't physically happen.
Okay.
I don't have the urge to ever want to hit somebody again. So for the last 9 years, I have never physically hit a person. But if you'd asked me that 9 years ago, I couldn't have told you that it would be.
Yeah.
Because I was a very fist-on person.
Yeah.
I was a hands-on person.
Yeah.
And when I got angry, I had red mist. Okay. People speak about red mist. You get this, and
you get foggy, and then you just.
It's like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
It's like you want to just Hulk smash.
So it's all emotion, no rationale. Yeah. You don't think.
No rationale.
Yes.
No rationale.
Yes.
I'm hurting them, and I'm hurting them.
Yes.
And that's all I had.
Yes. Yes.
So that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. I've had people physically do things. I've asked people to do things. I've been in situations where before the old me would have just exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk into that situation going, let's just calm down. Let's just deal with this. And last year, for instance, a guy in a van hit Janice in the car. Janice phoned me up. She says, guys just hit the car. We're stuck in Peterhead. Can you come round? I drove round. I got the car and I went, is everybody okay? Mm-hmm. The old me would have been, what on earth have you done? And just going absolutely crazy about it. It was like, no, is everybody okay? Nobody's harmed. Nothing's done. Right, fine. Let's fix this.
Man, you're more mature than I am.
But I look back at it and think, how do I do this? Why? How? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that God took my anger away.
Okay.
The whole anger emotion has been dealt with.
Okay.
And now everything I see, whereas before a negative situation would have really made me just go boom. Now I look at a negative situation, where's the positive in this? There must be a positive situation in this. And
Wow.
I mean, the positive situation
Yeah.
from the guy hitting my car is we got the bonnet fixed, which had been damaged before. We got it fixed in the whole time.
Yeah.
Didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is that thing. The other thing, I mean, my language changed. I stopped swearing.
Okay.
I don't.
Did you stop swearing 100%, or now and again
No,
something slips up?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
It's just gone.
You're a better man than I am, man.
I don't even think about it. I don't even think about it.
That's unbelievable.
But there's lots of things like that. It happened, and it's like I got this thing, but I just want to help people. My whole life now is devoted to helping people.
Mhm.
So I now just go and share my testimony everywhere I can to people to show them that God can help you.
So you tell everybody your story, yeah?
Yeah, I've got a story to tell. I went trained as an evangelist, which God made happen.
Mhm.
And then things started to happen after that eventually ended up with what I've got now.
But he didn't make it happen independent of you. You must have brought yourself to it. You know, because he's asking things of you. You can say no.
Well, he's got a way of convincing you something.
Well, he has, of course. Now that's a different story.
Yeah.
He will convince you eventually.
So yeah,
because you know if you don't say yes, ain't gonna be good for you. Though.
So how we ended up with Man United was quite a weird journey because I hated speaking in front of people.
Okay.
But growing up, right, probably up until 10 years ago, you wouldn't have got me standing in a room in front of people speaking. Hated it. Anxiety would kick in. I would just hate it. I would hide away in the corner. Fine. And then I became a Christian and I started to share my testimony and started to share my story. And I realised that when I shared my story, people responded. People would respond.
Okay.
And then I went away to a conference with a group of guys. And while I was at this group of guys with this conference, there was a speaker who was there, a guest speaker. It was Bob Goff, who loved us.
Yeah.
So he was the speaker at this conference. And I'm walking through the foyer. And it's crazy how it all happens because when you go to these conferences, you never meet the speakers. They're always in the back room. They're always through the back.
In the green room.
So I'm walking through the foyer and Bob Goff walks up to me and he went, God says you've got to use your voice. You've got to start telling people your story. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Unbelievable, man.
And he just turned and walked away. And I'm like, weird. Okay? It's never happened. So then I was like, okay, weird. Don't understand. But hey, okay. That night we're sitting in the auditorium listening to him speaking. And he went, by the way, he says, where's that Scottish guy? He says, God's told you to use your voice and start speaking. He says, you need to start doing it. How did he know I was Scottish? How did he know?
Did you speak to him? Your accent must have given you away. Okay.
But it was weird.
I know.
So I came back, did a lot of prayer about it, a lot of thought about it, went and spoke to Neil about it. And it's like, do you think God's calling me to be an evangelist? And Neil's words were, I don't know. He said, because I'm a pastor, not an evangelist. Go and speak to an evangelist. So then I'm like, well, who do I know as an evangelist? Because I don't know anybody. And about 6 months, a year before that, Barry Woodward had been in Apex.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Great evangelist. I remembered everybody saying how great an evangelist he was. So I sent him a message on Facebook. Massive message. Explaining everything that was happening, what I felt God was saying, what I felt was happening. And he went, cool, let's get a coffee on Monday. And I'm like, magic. I says, are you in Aberdeen or Peterhead? Or no, he says, I'm in Bolton, which is just outside Manchester. It's 300 miles away. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I says, I can't be there on Monday. I says, I'm in Peterhead, 300 miles away. And he says, I thought you were trusting God. Oh, well, what do you say? What do you say? So I went and spoke to Janice because Janice was the sensible person in my life. And I was like, yeah. And she went, how are you getting there? And I went, well, no, hold on a minute. It's 300 miles away. I've got a job on Monday. And she went, I thought you were trusting God. And they both said the exact same thing. I thought you were trusting God. So I made arrangements. I didn't tell anybody. Made the arrangement on the Sunday. I got in the car. I drove to Bolton. Turned up at 9 o'clock on the Monday morning, as told. Arrived in this room, in this coffee bar, sitting there waiting for Barry to arrive. Barry arrives and starts speaking to everybody else. And I'm sitting there thinking, I have a meeting with you, Paul. I'm waiting for you. And then he comes over. Oh, how you doing, Paul? He says, you met the rest of the guys. What do you mean the rest of the guys? Anyway, this is the Evangelist Network. I thought we were having a coffee. He went, yeah, but I wanted to see if you were willing to come and trust God enough to come. So I ended up in the middle of this whole day event as an Evangelist Network.
Wow.
Shared a little bit of my story.
Mm-hmm.
Listened to the rest of the guys, what everybody was saying. And then I met this guy called Mitch, who runs an evangelist school in Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I was told to stay back. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm the naughty schoolboy. I'm getting told never to be back here again.
Yeah.
So everybody left. I'm sitting there, and that's when Barry went. He says, you have potential to be an evangelist. He says, I want to be your mentor. I will mentor you as an evangelist. And it was like, wow, this is a guy who I'm looking at thinking, you're doing amazing work, traveling all over the country, speaking in churches and prisons, and changing people, helping to change people's lives. And you want to help me? Wow. And then the guy, Mitch, says, I want to offer you a place in my evangelist school in Belfast. And I'm like, I can't come to Belfast. So I live in Peterhead. That's different countries, never mind, different islands. And he's like, yeah, I'm offering you a place, but I need you to be there next Monday. And I'm like, not a chance. No way. So I left, got in the car, phoned Janice. Janice, this is what happened, told her the story. And she went, cool. She says, well, I'll go and start booking your flights for Belfast. What do you mean you're booking flights? She went, well, if God's when you do this, you need to do it.
So why did you fly back and forth?
So I flew back and forth to Belfast, Aberdeen to Belfast.
For how long?
6 months.
Man,
flying across on a
that's a woman you need, man. A woman that believes, man.
Flying across on a Monday, home on a Tuesday, and doing this evangelist school. And I graduated after the end of the 6 months, and I'm the only person in UK mainland who holds my qualification because everyone else is in Ireland. And I've got an accreditation in evangelism and apologetics from Moorlands College. It's the only qualification I had in my life.
No other
qualifications.
qualifications.
No qualifications.
Unbelievable.
The only other thing I'd passed in my life was my driving test. And here I was. I had this qualification.
Now, how important is the woman in our life, man? If it's the right woman, the woman that believes in you, the woman that supports you, the woman that pushes you forward, that helps you move on, and move ahead. I think that's amazing. I mean, without Wendy's been a blessing to me, and without her, I wouldn't be what I am today, man.
Yeah, there is. You need people like that in your back.
And probably the same with you. Without Janice, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
You need people to have your back. Yeah, definitely.
And the best one is your spouse, man.
Yeah, you've got to have the right people behind you.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to take. Okay, so we are to Man United now. Man United in Peterhead. There are other Man United in UK.
No.
So what? This is just only in Peterhead. It's Man United, and it's an organization.
This organization started here, founded here, based here, run by here.
I thought that it would be like a chapter.
No.
So there would be somewhere the headquarters.
No, this is a headquarters.
So this is the headquarters.
You are sitting in HQ.
Okay. So I looked on your website.
Yeah.
So I saw that your vision is to promote and protect the mental health and well-being of men.
Yes.
Why is men's mental health a concern to you?
Because I know what it's like to be that person. I know what it's like to be in that dark place. I know how isolated and lonely and scared a man will feel when you think the only option you have left in your life is to end it. And it's a horrible place. It is probably the most horrible place you could ever imagine on earth, times 10.
Wow. I've been looking for some statistics in Scotland. So I found this from Mental Health Foundation.
Yep.
1 in 3 Scottish men have experienced suicidal thoughts as a result of feeling stressed.
Yeah.
That worries me, man. Because I thought of suicide, but not in terms of doing it.
Yeah.
You think about you just like anything else. You think about suicide, this and that. But in terms of entertaining suicidal thoughts, now that's a different level. And when they tell me that 1 in 3 Scottish men, 1 in 3, that's 33% of Scottish men.
Yeah. At some point, we'll have that thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to be alive.
That's huge, man. That's disastrous.
It's crazy.
But you know why it's disastrous? Because when men fail in a society fails. So if our men fail,
Yeah.
we are doomed.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're in a society now with men that we as men we're scared. A lot of men are scared
Why?
because
What of?
society,
Okay.
how we're judged, how we're
Okay.
treated.
So, okay.
And I mean, I have a lot of men who come to see me, and their thing is, if you don't have the same car as your neighbours, the same houses as your the same lifestyle as your neighbours, you're a failure.
So do you think that adds pressure on you?
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely.
So what would you call that? Peer pressures?
Society pressure.
Society pressure, yeah.
Social media.
Mhm.
Everyone's
Okay.
life in social media is amazing.
So is that having such a great effect on men, especially? Yeah.
Yeah, you've got an image to upkeep. I mean,
Okay.
take your social media. You flick
Okay.
through your social media, through your friends. Will you ever see one of them tell you they're having a bad day?
Generally not. No.
Yeah.
All the pictures are the best.
Yeah.
Either
meals,
in the best clothes,
Yeah.
the best parties,
We're
or
out
the
for a
best.
designer meal. We're
Yeah,
out
yeah,
for this. We've
yeah.
got a new car. We've
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
house.
Yeah.
We're on
No, you're right. Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
ever puts a fact saying, "Look at the mess my house is in. Look at the mess my life's in.
I just fought
Look
with
at
my wife.
Look
Yeah.
at the stress my job's in."
Mhm.
Or a picture of them sitting crying because.
But that's complaining, so that they wouldn't want to come across as complaining or being
Is
a
it
victim.
complaining? Or is it being
No,
honest?
no, that's reality.
Is it being honest?
Here you go. Here you go. Yeah.
And I think the whole problem is pride.
True.
It's pride.
True.
Right? Because I could be having the worst day physically possible. You walk in, how you doing, Paul? Fine.
But you're not.
I'm fine though. Everybody says I'm fine. I'm okay.
I'm saying I'm fine because I don't want to get into the trouble of explaining to you what I'm going through.
You won't understand. How are you supposed to understand what I go through?
Mhm.
You've enough going in your life. I don't need to burden you with my issues. And this is what men do. And the thing is, if a man says, you know what, I'm not coping, failing. That's what goes through a man's mind. You're failing. But it's not, because there's never been a man alive.
So a man should cope with everything. A real man should cope with everything. So if you're not coping, that you're telling yourself really that you're a failure.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I mean, you look at a guy my size, and I've got feelings. Really? And I'm a softie. Men don't think that. Men, and I didn't, and I know exactly why it is, because I didn't do that. Because if I did, it was a weakness. The minute I show weakness, people have a way of attacking me.
Showing weakness, yeah.
It's showing a weakness. It's losing.
And people use that against you.
People use it against you. Then it's like if I was having a fight with you and you went like that because you're a sore arm, where am I going to target?
Right there. Exactly.
I'm going to hit that bit every single time.
Exactly.
And this is how you watch boxers. The minute a boxer's got a cut, he'll aim for the cut every time, because that's where he's inflicting the most damage. So if I, as a man, show that I have an emotional weakness, you'll attack me emotionally. You'll use the things that hurt me the most. And this is why you find that when relationships break, the biggest emotional attachment a man will have is his children. And then the children become the weapon. Because the children will hurt a man far more than you will by damaging his car or by damaging his reputation. You take away his children, you absolutely destroy this man. And that is what I find a lot of what I have is, a lot of the guys who come through my door, financial issues, marital issues, relationship issues, children issues, or shame. And that is probably the biggest things that I deal with. Shame because you've done something that's stupid mistake, but you're living with the consequences of it.
Of course you do. Yeah.
A lot of guys come in who can't see their children. In December, this month for us, it'll be the busiest month I'll have all year. Last year was, this month, year will be soon. Because there's so many men out there who know that they won't see their children for Christmas because of relationship issues, because of marital issues, because of breakdowns. So how does that guy cope with Christmas? How do you deal with it? So this is why we open our doors, we make sure it's open. Even Christmas Day, we will be open on Christmas Day to make sure that there's a place here for guys to come and be with someone. Because I don't want a man sitting on his own. The other thing is how long have you been married?
15 years.
15 years. You imagine if tomorrow, that your marriage breaks up tomorrow and you end up sitting in a little flat all by yourself with nobody. Because all your friends that you have are friends of also your ex-wife. So your whole circle of friends and everything is split. Everything gets split. You don't feel that you're worthy. So you sit in this little flat on your own with your mind. The most dangerous weapon in the world. This is worse than a nuclear bomb. With a nuclear bomb, you can see it coming. You've warning it's coming.
So we are experiencing. Do you think we are experiencing at the pandemic level the breakdown of family?
It doesn't help. Yes, but it's a breakdown of communication, and that is the thing. It's a breakdown.
But then just look at this. So family is the nucleus of society.
Yes,
keep society together.
Yeah.
Okay. So to have a coherent society, a solid society, you need to have solid families. If the nucleus of family breaks down, that means society is breaking down.
Yeah.
So in certain ways, when we think of society, we know that we are in the mess we are so fragmented and broken because the family is broken. You see, so
I think it's society.
I'm pro-family. I am a familist, so to speak.
I think society is broken. Society is the thing that's broken, which is then affecting families.
Yeah, but you see, broken families are the society.
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the families are okay, then society is okay. So what are we doing wrong as a society that brings about the destruction of the family idea, the family nucleus, because what are we not teaching? Are we not encouraging marriage? Are we not supporting married couples as a society? Are we not? Is the idea of a family taking a back seat is not so important for us anymore? What's happening?
I don't know. I think a lot of it's been made too easy to tap out.
Too easy to tap out.
Yeah. You don't like something, tap out.
You just give up. Also, so are we in a situation where the government is quicker to support a single person than a family unit or a couple?
I think we're in a society just now where men have less support than anyone else.
Okay.
We really are in a society where men have less support than anyone else. And I think one thing that highlights it a lot, and I see it a lot here, is that when a relationship breaks down, the first thing you'll hear is, the man must have done something wrong. Or you hear of a domestic situation in a household. Oh, he's been beating his wife.
Okay.
What happens if it's the other way around?
You don't hear it?
You don't hear about it.
Do you think?
I've been in that relationship.
So when the woman was abusive?
Yeah.
I like physical abuse.
I had an ex-partner who was physically abusive.
So they won't believe it though.
Nobody believed me. Would you believe it?
Well,
she was 5'4" and weighed about 7.5 stone. I was 6'6" and weighed 19 stone. Who do you think was the most abusive one? Instantly, they thought it was me.
But you're the bigger and the stronger.
Because I'm the man.
Yeah.
But it's the same as when you go into family. You go into family law and you look, a family splits up. It's always the mother who is given automatic rights. Father has to gain his rights.
I see.
Because we're in a society where men sometimes don't have rights. We're in a society where speaking candidly, some men are afraid to say what they actually think because they will be judged for having an opinion. We're in a society just now where you have an opinion, even if it's a joke or whatever, you will be judged on what you say, what you do, what you act.
Somebody told me, and I don't know whether to believe it or not, but somebody told me, and we talked about it a little bit before the interview. The worst thing right now for a man in Britain is to be white, Christian, heterosexual, and that's about that. Yeah.
We get persecuted no matter what we do wrong. And I mean, it's like I'm not negative against anyone else or any for females or anything like that. But as men, we get the hard end of the bargain because when a relationship breaks up, the man's left on his own. The woman takes kids. And
I found there is a fear of speaking up in this country. Am I right or wrong?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because you get judged on what you say. So one thing we have to be very careful is even doing things like this. We have to be very careful of expressing our personal opinion because it can be used against you.
Okay.
You just need to look at things like you have people who have made comments about their personal opinion who are famous people and get totally destroyed for it because it was their view. But I've talked about the freedom of speech.
You see, that worries me That worries me because I grew up in a communist country,
Yeah.
which is an authoritarian regime.
Yeah.
So top down, yeah,
Mhm.
heavy. So I'm used to. I grew up where I grew up where you couldn't speak about anything you wanted to. So when I see this in Britain, that's a sign to me that the society is going into a direction which is quite dangerous.
Mhm.
You know, when people cannot express themselves freely. Now, I'm not talking about I'm going out of their way to offend people. You know, I'm not going out of my way to offend you. No. But I want to be able to speak about things. You know, and if you are offended by what I believe, then you have the right to be offended, and I have the right to offend you. But I'm not going out of my way to offend you.
I mean, I've got friends who I have a friend who's an atheist, and he instantly says to me, the first thing he'll say, "Don't preach to me. Don't preach to me. I'm not interested." And then he'll spend the next 20 minutes trying to tell me why God's not real. So I can't express my view because I'm preaching to you, but because you've got a different view to me, you can tell me.
Yeah.
How does that balance work?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, I'm a bit worried about Britain and the West. Not so much America, but Canada, Australia. Interestingly enough, the English-speaking countries are going nuts in so many ways. In America right now, you can actually still talk about anything you want.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine, even if you create a lot of waves.
Yeah.
And you know, but here, man, it's interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. I found another statistic looking online, and I was interested, especially in Scotland, to see what. But I'm not sure if it's Scottish, just for Scotland. The statistics, I think it's from Mental Health Foundation. They were saying that suicide. So statistics show that men are significantly more likely to attempt suicide, and this is the largest cause of death of men under 50 in the UK.
Yes, correct. Yeah, totally correct. And you will find that the statistics state that men are between the ages 35 and 50 are most likely to commit suicide.
Why?
Life.
Too much
challenges life through you.
And they can't cope with.
So think about it. Go back to being Sava, 19. What did you want to do in your life?
I saw life, obviously, maybe not the way it turned out.
Exactly.
You had aspirations. You have
19-year-old Sandy. I wanted to drive a tractor. I wanted to be on a farm. I wanted to have a nice car, and I wanted to enjoy my life. By the time I was 35, I was in a broken relationship with a job that I hated, living in a flat that I hated, absolutely broken.
So it didn't turn out the way you expected it to be.
There's not a manual that gives you the rules of life. There's nothing. You can't walk into Halfords and pick up a Haynes manual how to live your life. And that is what happens. Is I mean, the majority of guys I meet through the work I do here are between 35 and 50, and it's the relationship is broken down. I've got a mortgage that I can't afford. I've got bills that I can't afford. My business is going absolutely downhill very, very quickly. I'm in a broken relationship. I've got kids that I can't see. And all these things happen because up until then, life's been rosy. You've been 18, 19, 20, 25, getting married, building the house, having the babies, everything. And then reality kicks in. Real life kicks in. That's not what I signed up for. I never signed up to be 35 and being suicidal.
I want to get back to relationships, men and women, because this is like, I remember there was a song, Celine Dion and Pavarotti. We can't live with them and we can't live without them.
It's very true.
Something like that. But so men and women relationships are very complex and sometimes complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we are in a relationship, do you think we give up too easy on the relationship? We don't fight enough. Just let me put it in this way. Do you think we as men don't fight hard enough to keep the relationship going?
I think it's a 50-50 thing.
Okay.
It has to be 50-50 because you can't fight for something that's not fighting back.
So you can't fight for something on your own unless both of you fight for it.
Yeah, because it's like if me and you had a fight.
Okay.
If you don't punch back, it's not a fight.
Okay.
It's me bullying you.
Yeah. Okay.
Something the same in a relationship. If both sides are not putting in the same amount of effort, it's one person overpowering the other one.
Yeah.
We've got to have it at that.
So both of them need to work together to save it.
Yeah. I mean, how could I save something that didn't want to be saved?
Okay. So let me say this then. Both of us then, men and women, do we give up too easily on what we have?
I think we give up on everything in life too easy now. Life's too easy to give up on. Everything in life's too easy to give up on. It's like if you go back to when I was younger and I had my very first car.
Mm-hmm.
My very first car was my pride and joy. I would take my car. I would do whatever it cost to get my car fixed. I would fix it. I would take out the engine. I'd put a new engine in. I'd take out the gearbox, put a new gearbox in. Now your car breaks down, you go get a new one.
Yeah.
Because
so we don't repair, we don't fix things.
Throwaway society.
Okay.
We don't fix things.
So do you think that permeates in relationships?
It's through everything in life.
Okay.
It's with jobs. I mean, you see it. People, I don't like my job, so I've just jacked it.
So we don't stick. We don't stick to stuff.
I think we've got. So when I grew up, things were really tough when we grew up. And you had to battle, you had to fight, and everything you did in life was a fight. Everything you had to work for, right? So anything we owned, we worked for. But now we're in a society where you just get more.
Mm-hmm.
And there's credit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like something, use a credit card, get a new one.
Yeah.
Pay it up later.
Yeah.
And people don't actually have to work for anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because we borrow it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We borrow time. We're borrowing time all the time.
Of course.
Because we're not.
We are sacrificing the present for the future.
There's so many people I know who you speak to them and you need to make changes. Oh, I'll do it one day. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee of tomorrow. So why not do it today?
Okay, I'm trying to think in my head and to look for solutions to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to me that it's going worse instead of it going better or getting better.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
It's always getting worse.
So I'm looking. So one of the questions I have here for you is how can we get men suicide numbers down? Yeah. So we have actually another statistic I've read yesterday, I think it was in Scotland. Yeah. Every day, 2 people commit suicide. Now, it doesn't say just men. So 2 people meaning men and women.
77% is men.
Okay. I knew about 3/4 is men. 77% is men. So out of the 2 people, 1.5 is men.
Yeah.
Okay. So that to me, it's
every day
worrying. Every day. So that to me, it's worrying. So at least a person commits suicide every day, which is a man.
Yeah. Okay. 725 people last year in Scotland committed suicide.
How many?
725.
In Scotland alone.
If you make it
men or just
men?
Wow.
If you make it worldwide, in people, men and women, 700,000 committed suicide last year. That's 1 every 40 seconds.
I checked what's the first leading cause in men's death, and it's heart disease.
Yeah.
Globally speaking. And then it's suicide. And it's more prevalent for men because men are more courageous when they do it right. Women, they're more, they don't really mean it. They want to do it, but they don't have that courage to do it, maybe.
It's quite scary, though, because it is changing in women as well.
Is it?
More and more women are using it as an option now. And the statistics are changing.
Okay.
And at this, when I'm part of forums and stuff like that, and at the rate that we are going, if it carries on growing at the speed it's going next year, it will be almost even the amount of men compared to women committing suicide.
Oh man!
And we're in this society where people don't listen, and this is where I come back to. It's all about time. So if you feel suicidal and you don't feel yourself, you don't feel well, you go to the doctor. Doctor, I feel really, really down. I feel really depressed. I just don't want to do this anymore. A doctor will give you some tablets. From the time you go in to the time you leave, the doctor's got 7 minutes. That's his allocated time, 7 minutes. So if I walk in with, for me now, I'm now 45, 45 years of issues, and he says I've got 7 minutes to tell him what's wrong, what's the point? He's not going to listen. So then he refers me on to see someone.
A psychologist, maybe?
Well, here we have a local hospital, Cornhill, that you get
Okay.
referred to. If I'm an emergency case and I need emergency treatment, I will wait somewhere between 18 and 25 weeks
Are you kidding?
as an emergency. So I don't want to live my life today, and you just tell me I have to wait 25 weeks.
And on top of that, there is a stigma attached to it, maybe?
There's a stigma.
What is the
If
stigma?
I go and tell my work that I'm struggling with mental health, a lot of workplaces will get rid of me. They'll pay me off. I have guys who come here who have gone to their work's saying, yeah, we do mental health, we've got mental health support. It's all about mental health, mental health, mental health. You go and say, I'm the one who's struggling with mental health, you'll get paid off. Now you have lost your pride, you've lost your health, you've lost your job.
What's left?
What's left? Because people don't listen anymore.
Okay.
People don't listen. I mean, even if you think about it, when I was really struggling, I went to see a counsellor.
Mm-hmm.
That counsellor allocated me 1 hour. I had to
A
pay
week?
I had to pay £70
70 quid an hour?
for that 1 hour. How
A
can
week? A month?
every time I went. But how do I tell you my life story in an hour? Because I can't tell you everything I've been through in my life in an hour.
So you have to come many times?
I could sit here and we could be here the whole day. I still wouldn't tell you half of what I've been through in my life in a day, in 24 hours, let alone 1 hour. So people don't listen. They don't have time to listen. Because I've been to see these people, I've spoken to these people, and all they want to do is to try and find a way to fix you.
Quick
fix. Give you medication. Take these tablets and we'll see you in a month. Take these tablets and I'll see you in a month. That's not how you fix people.
No.
I fix guys because I sit here and I will sit here for hours on end and I will listen to whatever you want to speak about. And I will give you a safe place to come and speak to me. And know that, see, when I say I understand how you feel, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one thing that really got me when I went to see the counsellor, I went in, I started speaking about the trauma I had in my life, and she went, yeah, I totally understand how you feel. She said, I totally understand how you feel. How can you? You're female. That was number one. Because I don't understand how a woman works. So how can a woman understand how I work? But how can, and I'm not being sexist here, but this counsellor was a female.
Mm-hmm.
She was under the age of 25. She'd hardly lived life, but yet she understood how I felt.
No, but she went by the book.
She went by a book.
Exactly.
I'm using real life experience.
Yeah.
Because I didn't learn by a book. I learned by actually fighting the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we are in a society that people think that just because you have a degree, you know the answers, and we don't. And I'm now speaking to politicians and all this stuff about this sort of stuff, because the people who will tell you how it really feels is the people who's lived this.
Of course.
And this is what we do. And this is why I come back to the thing is a testimony is the most powerful thing ever.
Of course.
If it is a Christian testimony, if it's a life testimony, if it's a work testimony.
It's your story, man.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
If it's a real life story, it's
your story, yes.
It's not what somebody thinks. It's what you know, because you've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we're doing here. We're providing a place where guys can come in, and when I sit here and go, you know what, Sav, I know how you feel today, Paul. Because I do.
Because and you mean it. And you mean it, yeah.
And that is why we are men united. We don't deal with females. Because I don't understand females. Because if I understood females, I would never have an argument with my wife. And that's true.
Yeah.
Can a man understand a female?
Yeah.
Can a female understand a man? I mean, you'll have times with Wendy, when Wendy goes, Sava, I just don't get you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Ever get
True, yeah.
I'll sit, I can sit, and I'm sitting there looking out, and Jonas is like, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. My mind is up.
But you see, when you say that, I understand you, because I think about nothing. Yeah. Wendy, how can you think
100 things?
What do you mean you think about nothing? How is that possible to think about nothing?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you it is.
Yeah, but I get with Janice. Janice goes, how can you think about nothing? Because right now I've got this song playing. I can see the rolling credits from that program I just watched. The tea towel was blue. The curtains were green. I still need to hoover the carpet. I still need to get the water.
And we don't care.
I'm sitting there going, huh? I'm sitting there
Exactly.
I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder if I could have for my supper. What's for tea? And that's all I'm thinking about.
I know. Yeah. No, I totally get you. I because I'm there, I can get into my nothing box, and
That's exactly what I call it. Yeah. I've got a nothing box.
Nothing box, which actually, I mean it. It's nothing in there.
There's nothing there.
And if you come in, then it's something there.
So you can be quiet.
Yeah. No, you don't. You stay out, man. So Wendy stays out of my nothing box because it needs to be nothing.
Yeah.
But I do know why we get into the nothing box. This is how we deal with stress.
Yes. This is how we charge.
We
offload.
Yes. When we are stressed, we are quiet.
Yeah.
And we withdraw.
Yeah, I think it's how we process.
Yeah, but that's natural, generally speaking, for every man.
Yes.
Generally speaking, yeah. So then I told Wendy, when you see me quiet and withdrawing for, could be a day.
Yeah.
Could be a couple of days. Our discussions, conversations can be very brief, because I'm stressed. How can you be stressed? The things that go on within me are a lot more than the ones that go on outside of me.
Yep.
So I'm not schizophrenic, but I have an inner person that lives a life that you sometimes you are not aware of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I totally get it. So, but I want to get back to this. Can we fix this somehow? Because men, we are fixers of things. We try to fix things.
To be perfectly honest, I don't think we can.
Okay.
I don't think we can fix it. Because there's just there isn't a solution. There isn't a quick solution. The only way we can improve it is to get guys to speak.
Okay.
And guys have to start speaking. We have to start giving men a voice again. Because I have got guys who come here who are afraid to say stuff in case they offend. And they're afraid that you go out, you meet guys in a pub now, and you're scared to presume something in case you offend. Mm-hmm. You can't say something because you've presumed something. And we need to start having a voice again, where we know that we're safe to be able to speak about whatever we want to speak about. And that is why we have here.
Yeah.
So when you come into this building, and when we meet here with the guys on a Thursday night, everything in here is safe.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's got to judge you on what you say.
Okay.
Yes, we don't allow bullying, and I won't allow it to get beyond a certain level, but you have to allow men the freedom to express how they feel. So sometimes in here it gets quite heated, it gets quite animated, but guys are getting the emotion out. And if a guy wants to sit and cry, pal. There's no shame in crying. And if you want to sit and get angry, but just don't get violent. But it is a case of it. We're in a society now where when guys say something and the people are man up, get a grip. So that's our motto is don't man up, speak up. Because all my life I was told, man up, get a grip. Stop moaning. I'm not moaning, I'm trying to express how I feel. And it's different for women. Because women, when I first started Man United and I met a guy for a coffee and I walked in, I got 2 coffees. How you doing, pal? I'm fine. That was the conversation. There was 4 ladies walked in just after us. And one of the ladies says to the lady, how's your week been? She went, get the cake, it's going to take forever. We sat and we watched them and they just didn't stop. It was like, because they constantly spoke.
But that's what women deal with stress. That's how women deal with stress, by talking about it. Talking about it.
Men don't speak.
Yes.
So maybe we as men need to take a look at the women's book.
Of course,
and start
definitely.
But it's the same. I have seen it even in church circles. You meet groups of guys, and we get together, and guys will have food. It's always food. Right?
Not a bad thing, though.
Great thing. Let's have a breakfast. When did you last hear 2 guys sitting speaking about their emotions, though, at that breakfast?
But men are superficial, though, in terms of relationships. So for me and you to have a discussion like this, we actually have to be intentional about it.
Yes.
And to mean it. Because we size each other up.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever men meet.
Alpha male.
Exactly. First 20 seconds. Can I take him?
Huh?
Whether they're Christians or Hebrews or whatever you call it. Doesn't matter, man. Whether it's in church, in a pub. They look at you and say, can I take him out?
Yeah.
The first thing you think about. But then
my man, where's his weak spot?
Exactly. So then you have to get over that.
Oh yeah.
So then, but we are very superficial. So we have to actually get a little bit more mature, I would say, to develop, to mature our emotional intelligence, so to speak, to become more empathizing.
Empathetic, yes.
Empathetic, yeah. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but I still think we can help. We can make things even better, because as I'm talking to you, talking helps us develop ideas.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if we promote marriage a little bit, we are more intentional in promoting marriage.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? Not make it so easy for men and women to give up on each other.
Yeah. Back to the tap out. We tap out.
Yes. And to fight for each other. I spoke to Wendy and I said, listen, in order for us to work, I'm going to take divorce out from the table as an option. There is no option.
Mm.
Divorce is not an option for me and you. Why? If you want to leave, leave, but I will never leave.
Yeah.
Sandy, I will never leave. Why? Because I believe, what am I going to do? Am I going to get somebody else, have the same issues with somebody else? Because what's happening is this. And men, we are very bad at it. We have a relationship and we are in the relationship for 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years, whatever. And there is something we cannot have a breakthrough, an issue. We cannot fix it.
Yep.
Whatever it is. And we decide to split ways, So the guy, I'm speaking from a guy's point of view, yeah? So the guy thinks, well, with the next one, is going to be better because she's going to be different. But what's happening is probably after 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years of marriage, you get to the same point, because you cannot not get to the same point, because it's not her issue, it's your issue. And you are creating that in the other person all the time.
Yep.
So after about 5 or 6 or 7 years, you arrive at the same point. You can't solve it. So you think, I can't believe it, man. I left my first wife, and and with her, I'm at the same point, at the same station, and I can't believe it, man. And you know what? If you're giving up now, you're gonna end up with the third wife at the same point, over and over again. So I think we have to stick in the relationship and try to get through, to solve it, because I cannot blame her. It's my issue. I have to solve it. Now I do believe it's better when both have the same attitude towards the relationship and work to save it, whatever it is to save. Because, so first and foremost, take divorce off the table. But then some people will come and say, okay, you take it off the table, but then there are violent relationships. There is domestic abuse. Well, I'm talking in general, generally speaking. Yes, I do understand sometimes it's better for things to end. Okay, I do understand that, but I don't advocate divorce in any situation. So I believe, stick with it, man. Fight for it. I mean, I'll fight for my relationship with Wendy, because I'm not going anywhere. Because it's my responsibility as a man. Is my responsibility. My relationship with my woman is my responsibility. Whatever happens under the roof of my house is my responsibility. No. So I think maybe, now just hear me out. We should maybe be more responsible and fight to the death, really, to death do us part.
I think. I see.
Because sometimes we use it as an excuse.
Can be used as an excuse
to go with another woman that we already have laid aside. My girlfriend is waiting. So we can't sort this out. Better split ways. So but I'm talking about in the situation that this is real, and we want to make it work. I think we should fight more for the family, maybe.
To a point, yes.
Okay.
I'd agree to a point. So I've been at the other side of it. I've been in the relationship where the relationship fall apart, and you feel like you're the only one trying to make the effort. So what I have quite a lot of guys who come to me who have the same issues, and a marriage is worth fighting for. If both sides are fighting. If both have the same investment.
Agree with that. Yeah.
What happens when you get to the stage when the marriage is the one thing that is dragging you down? Because I have guys who come here who have been.
In which way is dragging it down?
Destroying them. Absolutely destroying.
Destroying the man, destroying
Physically,
both of them.
mentally. Sometimes both of them. Sometimes
It's so toxic.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I totally understand both sides of the argument.
Okay.
Because I have been there.
Mhm.
I've been in that side of the argument.
Mhm.
And I think the one thing that that I have found is that a lot of guys now want to love someone,
Mhm.
but don't love themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. So how can you love someone if you don't love yourself? Because you don't know what love is unless you love yourself. So I always say to these guys is sometimes we have to step back
Mhm.
and learn to love ourselves.
Mhm.
We have to learn to love ourselves. Because
Mhm.
if we don't love ourselves,
Mhm.
how can we love someone else?
So, from a Christian point of view,
Yeah.
in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy, in the law was love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
In the New Testament, Jesus changes the paradigm. And you will find it in the Gospel of John, I think it's chapter 13, verse 34, 35, somewhere there, or 14, chapter 14, 13, somewhere there. It says, I'm giving you a new commandment, which is not really new, but is the paradigm is changed.
Yep.
Love your neighbor as I have loved you.
Mhm.
Love your neighbor. In this way, everybody will know that you are my disciples, right? So what does he actually tells me? That the old paradigm is when it was love your neighbor as yourself. You've done a very bad job, man.
Yep.
Because you can't love yourself. You don't know how to love yourself.
Yep.
You hate yourself, man.
Yep.
So then if you hate yourself, you hate others.
So what happens?
But follow my example. I love your neighbor as I have loved you. So the question is this: how did Jesus love me?
Wholeheartedly. We should.
Yes,
But
but sacrificially.
But the problem.
Just listen, because I have a point here.
Yeah.
He loves me sacrificially. What did he do? He died for me. He sacrificed what? His life.
Yep.
So gets me to the point then. What is love then? Sacrifice. How should I love Wendy? I'm talking about in the context of marriage. Sacrificially. Sacrificing what? Life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough. It's not an easy message. It's not an easy. Some people don't want to hear that. I'm fed up of sacrificing myself. I'm tired. But if Jesus loved you and me sacrificially to the point of death where he gave his life for you and me, that means that love is sacrificial, and love means or equals sacrifice. So then I have, even loving you, I have to love you sacrificially.
Yep.
Which means I sacrifice my time, my life. I consume it. Sacrifice my life. I consume. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah. We should sacrifice to an extent, because would you
not follow Jesus in this example?
Oh no, we need to follow Jesus.
Okay.
No, definitely. We need to follow Jesus.
That would have been the Christian argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to follow Jesus' example. We need to be loving each other.
Okay.
Right? But we need to love ourselves.
I totally agree with it. Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to communicate is that is not the point of reference.
No.
For me.
Yeah.
The way I love myself, I should love you. No. The way Jesus loved me, I should love you.
Yes. Yes. Totally. So I should show you love.
Yes.
But I should love myself more.
If you can do, why not? And work on it.
Because
and what does it mean to love yourself? Come on.
So when I say I love myself, I respect who I am.
Okay.
I have pride in who I am.
Okay. Healthy pride.
But I don't allow my pride to stop me being who I am. Because I have a lot of guys who will come in, they will try and speak to me, and I can see that they're lying to me. And I then go, I want you to go outside, pal, and come back in and park your pride outside.
Oh,
because if you walk into me with this whole
so it's all cocky, arrogant.
If you walk in
okay.
I'm okay. I've just came because somebody's told me I need to.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
But if you come and see me because you really want to get help, that's a different thing. You've dropped the pride.
Yeah.
And so loving, when I say you've got to love yourself, you've got to respect yourself. You've got to have pride in your appearance. You've got to think, you know what, I am someone, and I matter. And that is the biggest thing that I find. A lot of guys come in and say, but it doesn't matter what I think.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what I say. Of course it matters what you say. I mean, when I say to a guy, if I say to you, Sava, who's the most important in your life?
The most important person in my life.
Yeah.
Outside of me.
Who's the most important person in your life?
Well, you say me, but then
it has to be you.
Yeah, but then not really.
Why not?
Because a man and a woman will never grow and mature unless they love somebody else more than they
But
love
without your
themselves.
life, there is no man and woman. There is no
That's
relationship.
true.
And this is why I'm back to this whole thing.
Okay. Okay.
We have. I agree with the whole marriage thing. I agree with everything about that. But when that marriage is sacrificing your life,
Mhm.
and I physically mean sacrificing your life,
Mhm. Mhm.
when does it stop being a marriage?
Mhm.
And I have seen some horrendous things.
Oh yes, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So this is
yeah.
where I come to the thing is, give a marriage 100%, as long as you're getting 100%. But you've got to remember that sometimes there's people who tap out. You can't keep fighting.
Totally.
You can't have a one-man fight.
Of course.
Yeah.
I totally
So,
agree. Yes.
I agree with the whole thing. But my thing from a Man United perspective, from our perspective, is what's most important to me is you.
Okay.
You are the most important person to me.
Mhm.
And you are the most important person to you. I get guys who come in here and I ask them a question: who's most important in your life? My kids. So if you died, would you still have your kids? No. So who's most important in your life?
Okay.
It's you.
I see your point of view. Yes.
And
yes.
and that is where we've got to get back to. The thing is that we're in a society where men have stopped loving themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you love yourself, they say you're egotistic, you're full of yourself, you're cocky.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Because if I don't love myself, how can I love anyone else? How can I have respect for anyone else if I don't respect myself? Because that is what is most important. So this is what I teach guys to do: is learn to respect yourself again, learn to love yourself again. Look in the mirror and actually think, you know what? You're smashing this. Because we're in a society where we get put down all the time. We are put down.
Course,
as males, we are put down all the time.
Of course.
And we come back to the scripture. The scripture says, love your neighbour as you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I know men who love their neighbours more than they love themselves.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Because I get a lot of that. When guys will come to me and I say, you need to change this, you need to change it. What's my Paul's got to think? What's my neighbour's going to say? Who cares what they think and what they say? If you can't think and say it yourself, why are you living their life? And we, as men, we have to get back to, and sometimes we have to be selfish as men. Sometimes we have to be.
There is a level of selfishness. Yes, of course.
Because,
yes.
What about what I want?
Yeah.
If we do everything everybody else wants, we're living someone else's life for them. We're not living my life. Sometimes I have to do what I want. And that, sometimes it sounds arrogant, but it's true. Because if you're...
How many times you get to do whatever you want when you have family and children?
You have to make time to do what you want. And that is where we have to come to. We have to find this... It's back to the nothing box. We have to find this place where we can go and do what we want.
True.
Because, I will do anything for my family.
So you're talking about creating a balance.
Yes. There must be me time.
Yes.
And there must be escape time. Because if you're in a relationship, or even if you're in a workplace, or you're in any sort of situation where you are giving, eventually you run out.
True.
Eventually you run out. If you don't get nothing back. Now, there's times where as men we have to say, you know what, this is my time to give back. So this is my time to step back. My time to say no. It's my time to have my own time, my own space.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. We do need to have a me time, our time. The reason I made the point earlier was that we need ideals.
Oh, definitely.
To strive towards.
Yes.
Even if the ideal sounds a little bit utopic, as in unreachable, But then if we don't have ideals, it's nothing to strive for, nothing to move towards. And then so what happens if we fall short of the ideal? Well, we do fall short almost all the time.
You always will.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is we have something to look up to.
Yes.
Or, do you know what I mean? So we need ideals, because without ideals, because we are imperfect and fallen creatures, that doesn't mean we should do it with ideals.
Yeah.
We need ideals because that motivates me. I need to have a perfect image of what it looks like.
Yes.
Marriage.
Yes.
Relationship.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I need something to move towards.
And I think what we need to change is the fact of we need to look for examples of that in real life instead of looking for examples out here.
Totally agree. Totally.
Because
That's not real, man. That's
That's
not
not real.
No, no.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it,
yeah.
X, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
that's not real. That's all got filters, everything like that on. Me, when I look at examples of who I would like to be like, I look to my grandparents. And I looked at role models in life. We need to find real role models rather than looking for
True.
fake reality.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
I mean, people watch these TV programs and stuff like that, and it's like the Kardashians, all these different things. And
Not
they
real,
think that's
man.
real life. That's not real life.
Well, it's real for them.
It's not real life.
With millions and...
it's not real life.
No, it's not.
Because
no,
I can guarantee you that when that camera's not rolling, their life's not like that.
No, that's true. That's true. And if it's like that, it's like crazy, man.
You wouldn't want to live like that.
No.
And I mean,
no.
it is. It's looking at things, and we need to get real.
Yes.
And
totally.
we're in a society now where we think that what we see is what is real.
Mm-hmm.
That's not real. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, what you see, what you hear, in propaganda, all this sort of we need to close that out and start looking at the real issues. And I stopped watching the news because the news only shows me negativity. Yeah. So I don't turn on the TV and turn on the news and watch the news because everything is this is wrong, there's bad weather coming, there's this coming, there's this coming. When was the last time you heard somebody said, and I've got some really good news for you today? Nobody looks at good news. Everybody looks at good news. Bad stuff. It's all negativity. Exactly. So that's why we need to start getting real in life. And stop looking for the next thing that's going to put us down. It's like when a man makes a mistake, and I have been that man who made the mistakes in Peterhead. It's all over this. All over Facebook. Everybody's talking about it. What about when I do something good? Nobody mentions it. Where's the pat on the back? Yeah. Because when I'm down, you'll kick me, you'll punch me. Yeah. See, when I'm up, who pats you in the back? You don't. People don't do it. And people don't speak about the good things that people do. But they'll definitely speak about the bad things you do. And you go outside and crash your car, everybody's going, check the photos, Sava's crashed his car. Did anybody ever post a photo because you washed your car? Unless it was me. Only you. And but that's what we're living with now. That we're in a society where we get put down all the time. Yeah. We need to start picking people up. Yeah. Instead of punching people down. Listen, this discussion definitely turned out differently than I planned it to. Me as well. But that's the beautiful thing about it, isn't it? Yeah. I really appreciate it, man. Appreciate you making time for this. It's been really good for me to hear some of your journey. Definitely. And I really appreciate what you're doing here, man. Just trying to make a difference. Thank you very much, man. Cheers, pal. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming speaking to me. I appreciate that. Thank you for the time. Thank you for being so open and so honest about your journey and about what you're doing. I think it's great. If you enjoy and appreciate what we are doing and what we've done today, don't forget to give a like to this video, to share it to your friends, your peers, on your social network, whatever that might be. And why not subscribe to our channel? And until the next time, I wish you a great and a fantastic day wherever you are. Bye-bye from now. Thank you.